Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I am Eliasa Simpson, aka Coach Ellie, aka Minister Charge. I am here tonight on the Charge Room Show on Where is My King? Hashtag the men's locker room. I have not been online. I am on social media vacation, but the Kings wanted to come through because they wanted to show up and show out and just be consistent and be the great kings that they are. So tonight's topic is all about single fathers, right? Single fathers as single parents, single fathers as fathers, and single fathers of family life of single fathers. So when you think of single fathers, I don't know about you, but I can tell you about me. I think about the movie The Pursuit of Happyness, right? That was a Will Smith movie. The the Will Smith played in the person of Chris Gardner, who was a single father who manages to get himself his son because the mother was trying to move to another state and wanted to take the child with him. Now, Chris Gardner, he grew up without a father, and he didn't find his father until he was a grown man. And in his process, he always said if he had children, he wants to be there for his children. So when his son's mother came to him and said she was leaving, he said, "Not with my son." And he took his son. He took his son. He was in a homeless situation. He went through trials and tribulations because society only catered to women without the father, right? Based on women getting resources from the government, right? They were able to get help with their children without for their children without a father. But when it came down to a father receiving the same assistance for them and him and his children, he did not get a fair game. He did not get fair game, right? So we are on here tonight. The men are coming together. They want to talk about being a father, being a single father, participating as a father with blended family situations of a father, just being there, period, as a father. So I'm going to ask you to share this page if you know somebody in this situation or you just want to support us and just share, right? So again, I'm bringing on the Kings tonight. So right now, I have King Father Wise and I have um, King Joshua. Good evening, Kings. How are you? How are you? How are you? How's it going? I have
Yes.
I haven't been on social media for about a little over a week. So yeah, that part. I am here. I am here today though because I'm in here to support you. Um, Good evening, Keisha Spencer, Queen Yourself, and welcome tonight on Where's My King. So again, we're talking about fathers, being a single father, being a single father as a single parent, and just to talk about family life of a single dad. So, you know me, I like to always talk about some facts. So I was looking up the Institute for Family Studies, right? So it says 5 facts about today's single fathers. So again, 16.1% of single parent households today are headed up by fathers, and up to 12.5%. It's been up 12.5% since 2007, right? So, according to the Census Bureau. And single fathers are more likely to be divorced and less likely to be in poverty compared to single mothers. So, as I was reading these numbers, I definitely identified how they said that the child, more likely, if it's with the mom, will grow up in poverty because she may be in an average home of about $26,000, where the father may be in the average home of $40,000 to raise his family, as a single dad. So, I just wanted to start off with that because sometimes some people feel that there are no single dads when it is becoming more prevalent that single dads are definitely on the map. Not only that, there's organizations, like the National Fatherhood Initiative, that are up and running to assist single men. So it's a lot of single father organizations that's in different local communities as well. So no, single dads are um, not acknowledged anymore, but it's more to the front side now that you can go get assistance from the government to, and they also now have, single father shelters where they didn't have that before. Um, so I just wanted to, show up for you kings tonight and get your viewpoints regarding this particular topic. So, who would like to set the stage first?
I think Josh Mel is younger than me. I'm beauty after age, or something like that.
I thought it was age before beauty. I really,
That's what. Oh, all right, I got. All
that,
right.
that's the way that goes,
Oh, okay.
what I mean, especially since you're older than me, what I mean, that kind of
Okay,
And,
really
and
winds up.
prettier,
this age
Kind
and
of like
prettier, and prettier.
tonight.
well,
So,
that's
Father,
subjective,
All
that's
right.
Father, you go first since it's age before beauty.
Don't forget beauty. I'm graceful. I am graceful. No, well, we me and Ja always build about being single fathers and being just out. Like when we were single fathers, they didn't have no. I couldn't get no Section 8. They wasn't giving me no food stamps. They wasn't giving me nothing. They was just basically like, you a man, get your ass up, go out there and work.
right,
So why doesn't that apply to the women? Get your ass up out there and go work. Why do I just see a lot of women having more opportunities than us men when it comes to that. Cause everybody who knows me knows, I had custody of my daughter for she just left me last year and a half ago to go to college.
right,
She been with me since she was 9 or 10 years old, right? I had my daughter. I didn't get no child support from her mother. I didn't get no help buying food. I didn't get no help doing nothing. I just did what I had to do. And as a man, I wasn't looking for no government programs. I wasn't looking for none of that stuff. Because once they start giving you Section 8 and all this other stuff, you gotta abide by their rules. Then they can come into your house anytime they want to see if you're really a single father, or that used to be the joke. Um, you with a girl who has Section 8, she'll
That
let
was
you.
back in the 70s. So you talking about
I'm
archaic.
talking about I am talking about in the 80s and the 90s and
Talking,
today.
okay, but we talking about 2021 right now, and
I,
we're asking about being, how were you successful or productive of being a single dad? So you just expressed to us that you raised your daughter um, as a single dad. So how was that role for you? How do
Oh,
you
it was actually,
think you benefit from being in a single dad household?
well, what actually benefited it was to this very day, me and my daughter have the bond, right? We have the bond, right? It can't be broken, right? Me and my daughter grew up. She grew up with me, and the benefits of having her with me, it made me more responsible because now I have to think about her. I just can't think about me anymore. I got to think about I got to think about her medical needs, her food, what she likes to eat, what movies she like to watch, what I can't have her watching on TV, like stuff like that. I had to be a real parent, not just dishing out money and going about my business. Like I had to learn shoe sizes and pant sizes and and bra sizes, and I had to find someone to help me when she first got her administration. I had to find somebody because I didn't. I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do? Oh my goodness, ah, right? I couldn't go to the store and help her pick out tampons or not because I don't know none of that. Like I don't like. Look, I got somebody that's gonna take you out real quick. Go ahead. Um, I have the benefits is just she just came into my life and made me more responsible than what I already was. Right, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. I loved being a single parent because it was great to me. You know, all her little friends used to come over and they all call me dad. I remember I had a sleepover one night. It was, I had a sleepover with them here, and it was so much fun. Like I really enjoyed it. Like it just opened my heart. It just made me laugh, and then it just made me look at a couple of them who didn't have their fathers. So now I feel responsible, and they all call me dad, and I just yeah, I just remember.
I have a question for you. How can you relate you growing up with a mom and a dad in your household when you were young versus as you are a grown man to you growing you raising your daughter in a single father household? Do you can you identify like a difference in what you learned now more so than you would have experienced when you were a child? Is there something that in your relationship that you because you just spoke of, you know, how the cohesiveness of the relationship that you developed with your daughter. You talked about you becoming accountable for all her needs. You talked about how you became more responsible for managing her and your household. So as you being a father, can you see the difference of how your father raised you versus how you are raising your daughter being single versus having a two-parent home when you were young?
Oh well, there is no real difference. There is no real difference between how I raised slight little tweaks here and there, but I raised my daughter the same way my dad raised me, pretty much. Except for I never put my hands on my child. That's the only thing I can say. I come from the extension cord era, so we ain't. I never put my
Yeah.
hands on my child, right? And the benefits of I don't. It's just like I had my mom and my dad.
But do
I
you
taught.
feel that you are closer as a parent to a child? Do you feel you're closer to your daughter than say like you were close to your parents when you were growing up? Like the relationship again, because you
No,
definitely are passionate about the relationship you and your daughter.
no, me. I was close with my mom and my dad.
Do you
You know,
feel it's like the same type of
yeah.
strength and The
It's
codependent.
more. It's like being that I'm my own person. It's more so with me and my daughter, but I had the same closeness with my mom and dad. Like my mom and dad was, my mom and dad was cool. John know my mom and dad, and
Mhm.
I tell you, they were cool. Like, and everything they taught me it was together. My mom, my dad, I put it together, taught my daughter. So it was more beneficial for me to not have her mother around, so to speak, and tell you the truth, because there wasn't nothing like my word ruled. My word was law. And there was also some, tweaking in there just because I know these new millenniums are different. The millennials are different. So I wasn't so harsh as my parents were, but the rules were the rules. Period. You know. My daughter's
King Joshua, how can you contribute to this discussion?
Well, with parenting and being a single parent, I've co-parent. I've been in a single parent situation. I was a teen parent, so that was like my very first introduction into parenthood. My father had abandoned me and my mother and siblings when we were young, so I knew him. I would see him periodically, whatever the case may be. But as far as to have a father, I didn't have that. So I used to always hear how people will say, I want to give my children something that I never had. So they feed them a whole bunch of materials. They feed them a whole bunch of materials. The thing that I didn't have was a father. So I wanted to give my children that, meaning that someone that's going to be there for them, help, with whatever situations that they go through and what have you. At 14 years old, I didn't really know anything about parenthood, but I just knew that I didn't want my children to be on welfare. I did not want the government to be the main focal point of raising my child. So I did whatever I had to do at 14 years old to ensure that my daughter and my daughter mom wasn't on welfare. If that means, I was in the streets or whatever the case may be, I did that to ensure that they never stayed in public housing. They never understood, never received food stamps. They never received anything that welfare could offer, whether it was WIC or whatever. I did what I had to do. Some years later, I ended up having my son, and the situation with his mother wasn't conducive enough where we could co-parent. So I ended up getting my son, and she went on with her life or what have you. And I had him from the time I think he was like what, 2 weeks old, right? Wise when the mother dropped her off at the doorstep, like 2 weeks old,
right on the
and in the
doorstep.
middle in the middle of in the middle of a snowstorm in New York. She just dropped him off. So at that point, I was his focal point. I was everything. I was going to be everything for him. I was going to give him all I had because I was all he had. And my mom, she helped me, but she didn't take the brunt of it. She just helped here and there, but she wanted to show me what parenthood. I went out here, I made a child, I had to raise this child. And I always told my son that in life, you are already behind the eight ball. People are going to always say that you're not going to be successful because you was raised by your dad, or that they're not going to look at you in the same light. And I learned over that period of time that it's easier for a woman to be able to get assistance. It's easier for a woman to get housing. It's easier for a woman dealing with a child to get these things. But when, as a father, when I needed the help, I couldn't go out to the government and get anything. I couldn't get anything. So I had to work two jobs until I started working for the county. Once I started working for the county, things changed a whole lot, what I'm saying, in our lives. So it was like being the fact that our relationship was what it was or was what it is. I'm proud of the way I raised my son. I'm proud that it made me grow up. It made me, like Father Wise said, accept responsibility and accountability because I knew that I had nobody to turn to. The only flaw that I felt was there was no balance for him. There was really no balance for him. Meaning in a child's life, whether the parents are together or not, as long as they're co-parenting, they have that balance, that emotional nurturing and all that other stuff that a mother brings to a child. And, you know what I'm saying, the guidance and the discipline, you know what I'm saying, the father brings helps balance the child out, you know what I'm saying, going through. So a lot of times I wasn't emotionally available because I was working and I didn't know how to give him that emotion. And at the time, my mother was living, so she used to give him that emotional nurturing and stuff. Whereas my thing was, tell me what it is. This is how we're gonna deal with it. You know, to a honestly, we're to the point now where we express our feelings with each other because he's an adult, he's a grown man. And he has come to me, he said, yo, dad, you know what I mean, with growing up, you was kind of strict because I never allowed him to do things other kids was doing. My child wasn't on the corners. My child wasn't running up and down the street. Things of that nature. I used to hold him back from a lot of activity because of that. And I tell everybody like I always kept him in extracurricular activities, football, basketball, baseball, things of that nature, chess programs and different things like that to keep him away from the street. He would go to parties here and there, and a lot of times his friends would come over. And just like with Father was, you know what I'm saying, they call me Pops. You know what I'm saying? All his friends call me Pops because a lot of them didn't have dads. A lot of them didn't have dads. And being a single father at that point in time was so un it wasn't the norm that I went to a school. I used to go to a school all the time for PTA meetings, parent teacher conferences, athletic programs, even fundraisers. And his teacher said to him one day, "It's a good thing that your father is involved in your life. How often do you see him?" My son took it as being a disrespect and told the teacher, he said, "I live with my father. My father's raising me." And she told him no, he was a liar. And that really sent him through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It really sent him through the roof. And I had to come to the school and I had to explain to her that I'm the one that's raising him. I'm the one that had him. And for you to make a statement like that and not knowing the dynamic of my family or my household, you know, you're wrong. And you owe him an apology because you don't know what kind of trigger that is when a child is coming from a single parent home and they're looking for that love and nurturing from that other parent, even though they're getting it in the house from that parent. There's something that's missing. So I had to learn that it was nothing that I could do to fill that void in his life
Mm-hmm.
from missing his mother or wanting that hug from his mother. Even though I would give him the hug and stuff like that, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. And I understood that because I was raised by my mother and my father wasn't around. So there was a void that was there for him. Even though I had like my uncle RL, you know what I'm saying? Zoom Zoom and them. I always had my uncles, but it was never the same. So being a single father, you have to deal with various different things. Like there's no programs that's going to be open to you, or they wasn't at that time. Even the fatherhood programs, they really couldn't assist me. They really could not assist me because they didn't really know how to help me because their hands was cuffed when it came down to family court, when it came down to social services, dealing with men. It was just basically a support group that men who was raising their children, they would come and they would speak and be able to release what was going on with them. But they really didn't have anything to give me to help in assisting raising my child outside of giving me a venue where I could speak. So it was totally different than it is today. Today, you see a lot of young men raising their children, and it's beautiful, and it's beautiful. But when I was raising my son, it was hard. It was very hard. If I didn't work, we didn't eat. You know what I mean? That was the situation. There was no food stamps. There was no, you know what I mean? Somebody's gonna come by and give me $20, you know what I'm saying, to make sure we ate. It just wasn't that type of party. And I'm grateful that my son went off to college. He went, you know what I'm saying, he played basketball professionally for a little while. He, you know what I'm saying, he's in law enforcement and he has his own security business. So I feel like I didn't do a bad job with either one of my children because both of them are successful. But it was just the whole point that I took time and really stepped back and had to mature and grow with myself and sacrifice a lot of things that I thought made me a man. I sacrificed a lot of things that I thought made me a man. And the truth about it is, it only thing that made me a man or made me the man that I am today was fatherhood. Was fatherhood because I'm watching myself grow up. I'm watching myself grow up. And it'd be funny to me in a way where I'm sitting here watching my son lie to me. And I'm like, you couldn't be smarter than that. Like I told to get out the butt whooping, I told better lies than that, still got the butt whooping, but it was like, you know what I mean? But we got to the point where we were transparency meant a lot in my raising my child. He knew that his word had to be bond and my word was going to be bond with him. So it was never a point where if I say word is bond and he'd be like, word is bond, I didn't do it. There was no second guessing it. It was no second guessing because he knew what that meant. He knew that whenever he needs me at this given time, I'm gone. I'm gonna be there. My son came to me when he was a little boy, and because I used to play football in Roosevelt, and I was pretty good. I was pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? And he said, "Yo, Dad, I'm gonna do something that you never done." And me being cocky, you know what I'm saying? I'm running around in the streets, running outside with Father Wise, you know what I'm saying, with the undesirables like Father Wise. But all jokes aside, he said, I'm going to do something that you never done. And I'm like, I've done it all. There's nothing that you can do that I've never done. And he was like, I'm going to play college ball and I'm going to be successful at it. And as a little kid, that stayed with me. So when he played in the NCAA basketball tournament and they won their little conference championship before they went on to the tourney, me and him both cried in the middle of the basketball court. And it wasn't the fact that they won the championship. Me and him both went back to that moment where he said, Dad, I did it.
Right.
Dad, I did it. And I was like, yeah, you did. You know what I mean? We both knew what we were talking about. That was so monumental. We talk about that today, how at no given time he can ever say his father never been there or won't be there.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that without a shadow of a doubt. And
Mm-hmm.
my daughter knows that as well. It's just, I see a lot of people, they, and there's nothing wrong with being a step parent by, by no means, because a step parent, really, to me, there is no step parent, but they're just a parent that stepped up. And when you have to raise your child with no help, no support, no anything, and you have to really get it out the mud and make some decisions and be like, I can't take these type of chances because if something happened that's going to take me away from my kid, then where I'm going to be at. So you're going to go through the struggle, and you have to be really ready to go through the struggle. And a lot of people do not want to go through the struggle. They just want to go through the process. They don't want to go through the process. And pardon me, my phone was ringing. Um, they don't want to go through the process. They just want the result. All they want is the result, the result. But the process of growing up into manhood, because we had children young, 14, 20 years old. I didn't really know anything about manhood. At 14, I damn sure did. And at 20, I was just coming into manhood. So I was growing up while I was raising my children. I was growing up, and that's something that we have to understand. Like a lot of us are growing up raising our children. We're children ourselves, and we put ourselves in adult situations where we have to step up and make things happen. And I'm glad that I had my mom for the period of time I had her to help me, help support, and I'm glad I had my neighborhood. My neighborhood, I can honestly say, my neighborhood was a village, and we took care of each other. We looked out for each other's children. I can never say like I did it alone because if my child was outside and Father Wise and them was outside, I didn't have to worry about anything going on with him. And they knew that if he messed up, they knew to get that butt. You know what I mean? It was never an issue. We were all family, and that was the beauty about it. And he knew that. He respected that. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I hear people like, you know, uh, I've been a step parent, and you know what I mean, and it's hard on women. Yes, step parents is cool. That means you can step off whenever you get ready. But being that single parent, being that only one, where individuals are sitting there and you're all that your child has, that's a struggle on him and her. And I applaud those individuals today who are being single or dealing with single parenthood and able to get the assistance, get the support, get the things that they need to help them along the way. But during the period in time, we say the 80s and the 90s, we didn't have that. The struggle was real. And the grind, the hustle, working with Nassau County, because myself, I know I was blessed to get a county job. Father Wise had a county job. You know what I mean? Those were blessings because we had medical benefits. You had the best medical benefit, so the child was taken care of. You was bringing in a decent income, so your child was taken care of. You know, where you was able to provide food, clothing, and shelter for your child. It was a lot of things that went on. Um, like I said, me coming from a household like a broken household, I wanted to give my child something I never had, and it wasn't the material. I wanted to give him something that was priceless, that I felt was priceless, and that was my presence. My presence, me being there every day, every step of the way, I felt was priceless. You couldn't put a price tag on it. I would leave work early when he go try out for basketball or try out for football or try out for baseball. I would leave work early so just so I can be right there. So when he looks up, he sees me there. When he had games, I got to be there. I don't think I missed no game because when he looked in that stand, he saw me there and he knew I was there to support him. And the children need that. I might not have been there when he first came home from school, but he knew an hour or so later I was walking through that door. He knew to make him a sandwich or a bowl of cereal or whatever the case may be, get that homework done. When I walk through the door, give me 15 minutes, we're gonna go over this homework, and then we're gonna discuss how our days went. To me, as a single parent, that made me grow up and understand the struggle my mom went through, the struggle a lot of people went through. And me personally, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Mhm.
I wouldn't change it for the world. But I know that he would rather have both his parents, where he would have been more balanced off emotionally and things like that. But he would have got that nurturing, that hugging, that that kissing, whatever the case may be. And I'm not even ashamed about it. My son is 28 years old. When I see him, I hug him. I still kiss him on the cheek like a little baby. He goes, "Ah, Dad, man, when you gonna stop kissing me on the cheek? I'm a grown man." You'll never be a grown man to me. You'll never be a grown man to me. You're gonna always be my baby.
That's
So,
right.
but
Right.
it was just some things I couldn't give him, and I never put him in a situation where he saw a revolving door, and that right there was not something that I was going to deal with.
I didn't do that either.
Uh, Woman was not going to come in and out my house
Nah.
because I knew that whatever woman that was around my son had to be a certain way because I'm the blueprint of manhood for him. And whoever I chose to be a spouse or whatever the case may be had to be a certain way. Because if she wasn't, then that was a reflection on me. And that being a reflection on me, this is what he sees. He's going to deal with the same type of situation. So by all means, I never had that type of revolving door or anything like that. It's just I couldn't allow my son to go through that.
Yeah, my daughter never saw. I never had no women. Nobody ever came over here when my daughter was here. Ever. Like, I
Right.
didn't do that either. Nah.
So not to say that I didn't date, but he didn't see it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
In certain conversations that was never had in front of my son. Like I never had conversations about how we used to hang out or whatever we used to do or whatever the case may be, because especially not in front of them. Because at that point, if you sit there and you listen to your parents talk about what they were doing, your child is going to idolize that. And then they're going to think that it's okay for them to go out there in the street, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be, whatever you were doing that wasn't good, they're going to think that it's okay because you did it. So I kept that type of dialogue away from him. And I refused to allow people to have that type of dialogue with him when I wasn't around. You know what I mean? Because to me, just because we went through it don't make it right.
Yep.
Just because we went through it didn't make it right. So I just always was protective of his psyche more so than anything else.
Both raise great points. Again, the cohesiveness between you and your child, taking accountability, responsibility, increasing awareness of just being a parent. Um, Fatherhood. Like, what is the true meaning of fatherhood to you? Because again, as growing up as a young single dad, you were still growing up yourself.
Hmm.
So as you're growing up, you are actually going through a process with a goal to have desired results, because you saw a vision for your children. Both of y'all saw a vision for your children, and you didn't want to be the step parent. You wanted to be the single parent because you had no other choice. Um, and how it wasn't just you, but the village combined with your efforts helped support you with raising your children. But at the end of the day, gentlemen, it's all about love. It's the love that you had for your child, that you desired for your child, that you wanted to live out with your child. So they can in turn, you know, grow with love, and move forward with love in their hearts, to know what it did feel like to
Sister,
receive love
sister,
from a parent.
sister,
Hmm?
something is going on with your mic.
It is.
There's something that's going on with your mic.
Can you hear me better?
You know, it's like you got the T-Pain thing going on.
Oh, who?
That
You
no,
know, you got the
your auto tunes are real bad.
there's a lot of static. Maybe if we turn our mics off, it'll be a lot clearer.
I think because I noticed when Father Wise put himself on mute, you were very much clearer.
Oh, excuse me.
Right. So you hear that? So can you hear me better? Okay. So it was Father Wise little backshot noise, right? So again, like I was expressing that, at the end of the day, it's about love. The love that you put inside of the relationship with your children, the love that you actually, put inside yourself to step up to say, okay, this is what's in front of me right now. This is the cards. These are the cards that are set on the table for me. Let me see how many books I got. So let me make my books, right? So you have no other choice to say, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me correct that. You did have a choice. You did have a choice. You did have a choice to walk away. However, you did not have a choice because you knew, you made it so you didn't have a choice because you knew what exactly that you wanted for your children. Again, I want to commend you both for doing that step up. And again, say like reading numbers again, because everything we do in life revolves around survey, right? So as people are taking surveys and to find out what's in our communities, what's not in our communities. So some things that they say that are some facts about today's single fathers. So they're saying that single fathers, most single fathers are divorced. The census states that the majority of children living in their with their fathers are living with divorced dads, although the share of who they're living with, they could have been in some people were in a never married situation versus a married situation. And then by comparison of most moms, the moms, let's say, were never married at all in a single parent household. They're also saying that single parents, single fathers are most likely to cohabitate with another person. So that's where maybe some of the blended families come in at because some fathers, say, well, this is something I want to take on, but it's a bit overwhelming. And to keep the balance, they blend with another single mom family to bring a whole family together. Um, Also, again, like I said before, cohabitating single fathers are particularly disadvantaged in most social economic indicators because the younger and less educated the father is, most likely the way that they will live in poverty. Um, and then versus the fathers that's raising their children with a person that they are married to or a partner. So, as we were talking about you being young and doing it, if say like you were living all alone and didn't have a village, it may have would have turned out different for you, right? But being that you were open to your support system, it was a guidance and support there that would help you say, well, I see this is the situation that I'm in, and because I have my support system, it's not as overwhelming as it could have been. So versus somebody who's less educated and doesn't have the exact money that they would want to even raise a kid, because some people say just like how the mother may have felt she didn't want the child, she may can't afford the child, just was looking at it in a different lens. At the end of the day, she just said, I can't do it. Most of the time it's the opposite way around. The guys go, I can't do it. But again, like I'm saying, both of you stepped up, which show demonstrates the love that you have in your hearts to want to persevere through whatever time, hard or less or harder, that may arise. So I just feel that no matter how many studies come along, it's clear that maturity plays a huge role in a person stepping up to fatherhood. It's just like how you said, it's a blueprint for your manhood. Some men that were boys never received that blueprint. So making good decisions, identifying that this is a process and not, just this microwave situation, not to say I'm just going to have sex and whatever happens, happens. Like, just having sex is a responsibility. Just the coming together for two people to quote unquote have fun, that comes with a responsibility, because if you don't have protected sex, careful sex, the woman can get pregnant, and then when she says she's pregnant, you go, oh, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this, I don't want to be a father, right? So it's like, again, where's the maturity in that, to even come to the point to say, I want to have sex, to make that decision, because people don't think of it. They just think of it of just, we're going to have fun. I'm about to turn up, whatever the case may be. It's the awareness of fatherhood, the awareness of actually being a parent, the awareness of taking responsibility and accountability, the awareness of participating and taking on that role to say that this is what needs to be done. Um, I can't express enough that there's so many men who do not step up, and the numbers are still staggering even today. Even though there are more men that want to take responsibility and say, "Yo, this is my child. I'm gonna do this for my child." But what could you say to the boy slash man that has not reached a mental maturity, to identify fatherhood, um, as something that needs to create a blueprint for his manhood, to teach his children that he is the father and he will step in and be accountable? Like, what would you say to that particular man?
I think Father Wise is muted.
He is.
Da da. Listen, um, um, all I can say to that cat who wants to go out and have fun and turn up, and if you don't want to be a father, wrap up. That's all I can say. If you're not ready for the responsibility of being a father, uh, wrap up or don't have sex at all. I mean, that's just about as real as I can put it. Because once you, if you haven't said, unprotected sex, there is a good possibility the child's gonna come, and then the lady, she may want it, you don't want it. She could have used it to trap you, to stay in the relationship. Now that don't work, and now you're fighting back and forth. He run off and leave. Now she's stuck with a child that he never really wanted to be a part of. Now we got another. Now we got another kid running around crazy. Like, so just my advice: if you're not ready to be a parent, abstain from sex, or both get protected. The pill, condoms, woman condoms and pills, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what they're gonna do. Just do something. That's all I can say.
Well, the piggyback off the last part, there's so much birth control that is out there that they have to plan B, they have to plan C, they got all these different things. And I don't know, it might breaking up or whatever, but um, to a young man nowadays who is, I think we're breaking up. Something is going on.
You are breaking up.
Um, the young man today who is facing being a parent for the first time or being a parent, period, he has to understand what he is facing, and he has to really sit down and someone has to discuss manhood with him. It's not it's not easy being a parent, and a lot of times we men are so labeled and stigmatized with abandoning our children, and a lot of young men aren't taught manhood. They haven't been taught how to be a man. Not saying that a woman can't raise a man, but there's certain things that she's going to miss, and while she's raising him, that he's going to need. And when you're saying that this young man needs help, he needs to know that he has a support system. If he's confused about anything about fatherhood, he needs to have an individual where he can go to and sit down and discuss and help him through these situations. Not just someone who will fill his head up with bunch of idiocy. You have to have a good support system. You have to have a go-to person where you can sit there and have a dialogue like, yo, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to do this. Every night, my son wouldn't go to sleep. I would get in the car and drive to Jones Beach. I don't know what it was about the highway or whatever the case may be, but as soon as I get to Jones Beach, he's knocked out. I can turn around and I can get some sleep for the night. And this was an older man told me. He said, "Yo, just get put the baby in the car." Every time I went through something, I was able to go to someone else when I felt like I was going up against a brick wall. And that's what I would say to a young man who is going through a similar situation, that I will be there for them, or somebody should be there for them to be able to address whatever needs that they having or whatever they're going through. For the most part, it's more than just like more than just birth control, because we know at this point in time you're not using it. So you need to have a man in your life, whether it's your uncle, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your brother, whether it's your cousin, whomever that is responsible to be there for you to go to and have these type of dialogues. You got to
Mhm.
have someone you can go to and have a dialogue and not be ashamed to have these type dialogues. You know, what I mean, that's the major thing about with men. We are ashamed to go to one another when we have problems. We have to learn that we can be humble and ask, yo, I need help. I don't know what to do. I'm going through this. How, you know what I'm saying? Can you give me your perspective on it? Something that might help me. Like you say,
Definitely true.
this is a great topic. Um, I wish more of my brothers would have added on to it, but this was a great topic. Um, and I look forward to next week's topic.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Let's try.
For coming on. Um, Thank you, everyone, for coming to support us tonight as we talked about men who are single fathers to fatherhood and family, um, the family dynamics around being a single dad. Definitely, maturity is the key. So it's just not about the turn up because it starts with sex. You know, after sex comes, whether you are protected or not protected, right? And if you're not protected, then because it was all fun and games when everybody was turned up, going to bed, sleeping around, right? It was all fun and games. But now it got real. It became very real now that the girl is pregnant. So now that the girl is pregnant, it's like, are you stepping up or are you stepping out? So it's not just on the men, it's the women too. We have to take responsibility as women to make a conscious decision to have consensual sex, but be responsible. So don't look to him, look for you to protect yourself and to avoid the heartache coming down the pipe because y'all had sex. Both of y'all were not being mature and responsible. Now there's a baby on deck and everybody's running scared. Don't run scared. Step up and be accountable. If this is a person that's for you, make a conscious decision. If you know, because people have to ask these questions when you're quote unquote coming together. Oh, she's cute, he's cute. Let me hook up with him. Let me hook up with her. Okay, so now you have the hookup part. But what comes after that? Are you still going to have conversations? Are these conversations for real or for play? Are you coming together with the part that says, I have to step up and be mature about my decision making? So it's not just being a single parent, it starts from the first time you meet that man or woman. Responsibility and maturity are to show up. Identify your role. What role are you playing? So we can't blame each other. We can't point fingers at each other because it was fun and games before the baby became real. Okay? The embryo became real. The fetus became real. We have to take a step back and look at what role we played. Single parents today, single fathers today, fatherhood today, manhood today, the blueprint of manhood. We have to step up and be accountable. Let's do it. We all do everything in love. Again, thank you everyone for coming out. My name is Ilyasa Simpson, aka Coach Illy, aka Minister Charge, and you are on the Charge Room Show where tonight is all about the men. Where is my king? Hashtag the men's locker room. So we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Be right here. Facebook Live in the Charge Room and live on YouTube every single time. Everybody, have a great, great night.